we do is keep hearing about fear. It's amazing why we keep loving this country, and this country does not love us back. And it's really so sad. Like, I should just be a coach. And it's so often reminded of my color. You know, it's just really sad. We gotta do better. But we gotta demand better. Like, it's just funny. We protest and they send riot guards, right? They send people in riot outfits. They go to Michigan with guns and they're spitting on cops and nothing happens. The training has to change in the police force. The unions have to be taken down in the police force. My dad was a cop. I believe in good cops. We're not trying to defund the police and take all their money away. We're trying to get them to protect us, just like they protect everybody else. I didn't want to talk about it before the game because it's so hard. Like, just keep watching it. That video, if you watch that video, you don't need to be black to be outraged. You need to be American and outraged. And how dare the Republicans talk about fear? We're the ones that need to be scared. We're the ones having to talk to every black child. What white father has to give his son a talk about being careful if you get pulled over? It's just ridiculous. And it just keeps going. There's no charges. Breonna Taylor, no charges, nothing. All we're asking is you live up to the Constitution. That's all we're asking for everybody, for everyone. Thank you.
So for those who are watching the One with Troy to the Spanish Radio Show live, Instagram Live, Levant1021, and on the Facebook page as well, we had to do a reset. Our first guest couldn't make it, Andy Floyd, so we're trying to find out where he was, but he has not got back to me. So like a live show, we gotta keep it moving. So our next guest is a classmate of mine. We went to the same school together. She's a poet, an author now, new author, speaker, activist, very honest. I'm glad she's here. Thank you, Miss Janelle McCall. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm trying to hang in there. It's been one of those weeks that there's a lot been going on. So as you get heard we had Doc Rivers on the show talking about what's going on. Then we had the shooting of Jacob Blake and on Sunday, and then all the boycotts in the NBA and the stuff. I want to ask you, what's your thoughts on what's been going on? Your thoughts?
My thoughts on it. It's difficult. I can say as I was listening to, re-listening to, I should say, Doc Rivers' words on it. I was sitting here saying to myself, the conversations that I've been having this week. I couldn't bring myself. One of the things that was poignant to me is I couldn't bring myself to watch the video. I've seen still pictures from the video.
Right.
Of course, I've had many conversations about it. I've had interviews with family members. I've seen people at the protests, but I couldn't bring myself to watch the video. When I was saying to myself just now, as I say here, why couldn't you bring yourself to watch the video? Because I've seen that video 1,000 times before. If you've seen one, you've seen them all, and we're weary from watching people that look like us gunned down in the street. It's a sad situation. It's a weary situation. I just wonder when the wake up call is going to come.
We thought we had George Floyd to wake up. I thought that was the light shed moment. Okay, well now it's getting worse. It's like people, Breonna Taylor, still no justice for Breonna Taylor, and You know, I've been posting about Beyonce almost every day, and I'm there almost every day, you know, because it's hard that a black woman, that black sister is still not, family not getting the justice that they deserve. And then, you know, and then now this happened, and then he's paralyzed. And he was shot in front of his kids, you know, and then then the other day they were saying that he was handcuffed to the free. I'm like, what are you, like, I was like, then you had some 17-year-old Cameron, aka, well, like that 17-year-old out. It's like, it's so much going on in the country, man. I was saying earlier, we got to demand better. It's too much. And what's your thoughts on the NBA? I know you're a big fan of the NBA. I saw your post. You say you ain't watched nothing. You haven't watched nothing about basketball.
I haven't watched zero bubble basketball.
So when the Milwaukee Bucks took that stance and boycotted the game, and then it had a trickle-down effect on terms of other teams that were playing, also WNBA, who's weren't proactive at this before the game got on. They've always been in the forefront of social injustice like that. And baseball, MLS, hockey. Man, what are your thoughts about the boycott? Boycotting?
Just like this, we all have purpose and we all have a platform.
Mm-hmm.
Whether your platform is large, whether your platform is small,
right?
You just have to use your platform,
right?
And I'm grateful that they were had enough wherewithal and they were thought conscious enough to use their platform to make a difference. We so often have the opportunity to speak about things, to shed light on certain subjects, and we shirk that responsibility.
Right.
It's a responsibility for us all. It's a responsibility for us as black people. It's a responsibility for other people of color. It's a responsibility for allies, our white allies, to do that same thing.
Right.
You can't, for the ones in this country who claim to be believers but are still racist, how can you read the Word of God and believe that it's okay to oppress someone else? Regardless of whether this happened in the Bible days, it still was wrong.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It was still wrong. And it's all about, for me, it's what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, regardless of the color of your skin, regardless of what you look like, your gender, who you choose to lay down with at night. None of that matters if we can just go back to being the people of God that he called us all to be.
Right.
So I'm grateful that they don't want to just shut up and dribble, because they have too much responsibility, too many people looking up to them, too many eyes looking up to them, too many ears listening to what they have to say to not appropriately use your platform. And so what I would give the same thing to my own self. My platform is not huge, but I have one.
You do, yep, you do.
And so I choose to use that platform for good and not evil.
Right, because a lot of players before the bubble started actually left out the bubble because they were like, they opted out to not come in the bubble because some of them had children with conditioning, so it wasn't the right time. And I remember when I saw a lot of where I was like, they're not coming out. I was like, okay. Because I remember the Jordan Hill comment. He was talking about why we go to this damn place. And I was like, okay, that struck with me. And then you had Paul George speaking about him being depressed and he had to go to therapy and because he was stuck in this bubble and couldn't go home because you leave, you gotta come back in quarantine and all stuff like that. Then Doc Rivers' speech, okay, with wrestling, I was like, okay, something might happen here. So, and then they were talking about we might boycott because I remember Toronto, Boston were talking about boycotting. So I think that too, they was like, okay, I understand. And then you had a shutdown, and then you had LeBron with the comment, F this, man, this is enough. So, and I thought they would be done for the season. I thought they would shut the whole thing down because I think this is more important right now because what's been going on and I know they come back today, but I really thought they would really take a stand and not play the rest of the season because this is bigger than basketball, and way bigger than basketball. And a lot of basketball players are tired of being pawns and being entertainment, you know what I mean? And, because what they did, even though it was great that it was great the signs and the messages, but it's about the actions now. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? And I'm glad that they took a boycott, even though it was, I want to be in the season. I wanted because I went in mind taking a month off and focus on this stuff, and you know, and just because it's a sad time, and just like then you had that situation. Then I was watching the public game. I wasn't watching it all, but I saw they gave what's the name 45 this whole spotlight. I was basketball tonight. I didn't even watch it. So I was watching it. I was like, oh man. It was like they last night you had the tragedy of passing of Chadwick Boseman. You know, so which was very shocking of what he dealt with in his last 4 years. Dealing with colon cancer, stage 4, and like he did all those movies while in the midst of that. You know what I mean? Like, you know, he didn't say anything. His wife, I think his only wife knew about it, and like he was suffering inside, but he still gave people joy in his last days. You know, and that true testament is great because everybody's saying like he was so thin up, and maybe doing the movie. Okay, maybe it's fit for the like that's like normal. People lose weight to do a role, but no one knew he had colon cancer. I'm like,
and no one understood, what he was going through.
Right, except his wife. You know what I mean? It's like all his treatments he did. It's shocking that he died almost 7 months apart from Kobe dying. So this year, I know people say, kill 2020. No, you can't because without 2020, a lot of things will happen. A lot of like in terms of growing, in terms of healing, a lot of self-awareness checks, you know what I mean, and about yourself. And it's been a really hard time. I had a hard time getting up this morning. I had a time getting through this. I got an event today going on. But I had to push my way through. I had a responsibility, you know, and for the community, for people like you, and just people calling and talk about this platform because I had planned to talk about Jacob Blade, talk about this, and then that last night really shocked me, you know what I mean? It was like, I was like, okay, it was like, no, it's a joke, right? And then like it's like, all right, they passed away. I'm like 43. Wow. Like sometimes you gotta count your blessings, man. You gotta have to. Like you gotta know. You don't know what people are dealing with. You gotta check up your health too. You know, get what you need and find out what you're doing. But he still had a mind to do those movies and you know, put a movie on Black Panther that was losing everybody that had, and you know, that was opening so many doors, so many opportunities, and you know, like I had this picture of me and Mike. He took a picture of this Wakanda picture, and I had it from 2 years ago. I still have it, but now I'm gonna post my page of that. I took that picture, and it was like the kids in Wakanda, and I never thought now that would mean so much now, more now.
More, exactly.
Yeah, I read that the picture was a really cool picture. I was like, damn, like you feel like now, like, damn, that picture gonna mean so much more now. Like those kids are going through a lot.
And I spent the better part of this morning watching a lot of. Chadwick Boseman was always an actor that I really was in tune with anyway.
Yeah.
But I spent a lot of this morning watching videos of him and things that he said. And so when we talk about a platform, he too was someone who used his platform in a way that he should have. And it's, you know, I'm one who, of course, as a believer, I'm one who does not believe in coincidences. Things happen as God plans them. But it's no coincidence that the day that he transitioned was 8/28, and we all know that Romans 8/28 says all things work together for the good of them that love God and are called according to His purpose. If you watch Chadwick Boseman's life, this is so crazy to me. He spoke so eloquently a lot about purpose.
Yeah.
And then for everyone, I listened to and I saw people's posts this morning, throw the whole 2020 away. And what God said to me this morning in my prayer time was this: let's not denounce the year, but announce the purpose.
Right.
That it's the end of our procrastination. Because we think about, his untimely death. Right. His untimely death, but nothing is untimely to the Lord. Nothing is untimely to the Lord. And so he spent his 43 years making a difference.
Right.
What are we spending our time doing? What is anyone going to say about you whenever you pass away from this life? And we know that the word also says, he that began a good work in you is faithful to perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. So understand this: while Chadwick Boseman's earthly body is gone, his purpose still remains.
Yeah, I did. We just said that one was H1. I did. And then it connected me. I was like, and there was also the same day. Yesterday was the death of Emmett Till's death. In 28. It was like, and then at the same time they did MLB out of Jackie Robinson Day because he did 42. So and but I respect him as an actor. I really did. I really first time saw him. I think it was 42. And then he did another with James Brown movie. Then he did Black Panther and Avengers. Then the last movie he did, I thought it was his best work. Was 21 Bridges. He was a cop detective. I was like, he was like, I know Black Panther was his greatest work, but that movie he did was very underrated, very great in what he did, and the scene, the speaking. It was like he was just an awesome man. And I just can't wait for it. I know they're gonna move on him. So. And I'll just wait who's gonna play him in his part. And I didn't see the one he just did with Spike Lee. Netflix. I have not seen that yet. So that way, I think his last movie he did. But I won't see that. So this is just a praying time. We got to think about the word and scriptures, and because if we throw 2020 away, what would you gain from it? Because not so much we gain from this year. Even though in the midst of all these loss and anger and trauma, but there's other side to it too. That of you work on yourself and trying to be the best person you are. And because if we make from 2020 to 2021, we can survive anything. Anything. Like, so we just gotta be a front for change. We just gotta be like our actions, our purpose to speak for itself. You know, you don't gotta be at protests, yelling and like that. Man, just do it in your own way. Maybe it's having conversations with your kids, having conversations, having conversations. Let people know that we gotta make sure our kids are woke. What's going on? Even though just be aware, just let them know what's going on. It's a lot. It's a lot to work on. So. Let's get back to you. So, can you tell us who is Janelle McCall?
Who is Janelle McCall? I am first a child of God.
Amen.
I'm an encourager. I'm a poet. I'm a sister. I'm a daughter. I'm an aunt. I'm a cousin. I'm a friend. I'm a lover of God's people. I'm a lover of words. I'm a lover of God's people. I'm one who just loves purpose.
Yes.
And that's been, I'm an advocate for the average Joe who understands what they were born here for.
Right.
And so I just know, it took me a lot of years to come around to the point where I was able to just walk wholeheartedly in my purpose.
Right.
And what I just preach to people is just get under the power of God, so that you can find your purpose, and you can live in providence.
Right.
That's just
that's
what I'm about.
Yes. So what was your upbringing like? Your upbringing growing up. What was your upbringing like?
I grew up here in Philly. I grew up in a middle class family. We didn't, we had what we had, and we did what we did, and we loved on each other. And I grew up in a Christian home, but I was able to be aware of what was going on around me as well. And I just really wanted to find my way.
Yes.
And that's what it was about. I can't say that I had a super hard knock life, but I can't say that I had a silver spoon either. I've been through some things. I've seen a lot of things, but I was given a foundation early. And I was given a God foundation early. I was taught early who God was, and I was taught how to find out who He was for myself.
Yep.
And I did that at a very early age. And while I've had a lot of experiences in life, because I was given that foundation, because I was trained up in the way that I should go, I didn't depart. And so I'm here as a believer, as a child of God, as a minister of the gospel. Just trying to do my part and trying to make my dent.
Yeah, you got to make your part. You know what I mean? We believe we walk by faith, not by sight. You just have that faith and just put it to action. So So you and I went to college together a long time ago. Now.
A long time ago.
But it's like how God has evolved us and magnified to His purpose. So, what was your experience like at Westchester University?
At Westchester, I had a great experience at Westchester. I can say I met a lot of great people who are still friends of mine to this day. That was the place where I discovered me. I didn't grow up in a sheltered environment, but I wasn't one of those kids who was allowed to do everything that everybody else was doing. I kind of just was home and I went to church, and that was pretty much it. And I was trying to find myself in high school, and it was where college was where Westchester was the experience that helped me to discover who I was and what I liked to do and the things that I loved and the people that I wanted to be around. And it gave me an experience to be around folks who were not like me, who didn't helped me to understand that you can be friends with people who don't do the same thing that you do.
Right.
I might like to sing and write, and someone else may be a mechanic. And it gave me the ability to see that the world was bigger than what was outside my window.
Right. That was a great experience, because I kind of knew what I was, but like what's the difference really opened my eyes to new things in terms of purpose, in terms of like doing things outside my comfort zone. Because I grew up an only child, North Philly, so me going North Philly to Westchester was like, wow. And plus, I wanted to get away. I wanted to get out of Philly because the violence going on and the noise and the distractions. I wanted to get away and find myself. But it was like my purpose grew after I left. I felt like I had a great experience. I met people like you and surround myself. I learned about spirituality in church there. Through massive builders. I learned from it was called something else, but I learned a lot about spiritual and growth and learned about the word and just applying it and like, wow, like this makes sense. And then it's like you had that faith applied, faith applied to it.
Right.
So that's fast forward now, you are an author now. So what made you decide to come now after all these years say, look, I'm going to be an author now? What made you decide to do that?
Writing was something that I always did. I always did it for myself privately. I didn't think really when I would write as a child, as a teenager, even in my 20s, I didn't think at that time that I was doing it for the purposes of publishing a book or anything of the sort. I went to school. I went to Westchester as a marketing major, thinking I was going to be this big time music manager. I don't know why I thought that was going to happen, but that was my focus at the time. And I do, but I always wrote, and I never really. It didn't come to me until after 35. I was at work one day. I was sitting at work. And I had read something that I had written, and sometimes, and this is what I do often, and when I feel like I need inspiration, I'll go back and read my social media posts. And it was one day I was reading a post, something that I posted on social media, and I said, this probably, and the Lord just put a book in my spirit. He said, why not put your collection together? And poetry was something that I always did. I always wrote. It was something I always did. And I really just on a whim sat at my desk at work one day, working for the city of Philadelphia. I work for the prison system now, but I used to work for the revenue department. And I was sitting at work one day, sitting in my cube one day, and the Lord said, "Put your collection together in a book." And that was the beginning of that process. And I talked myself out of it so many times. I would make plans and I would cancel plans and it was a thing, and I did that for 5 years. And I made a decision to put a manuscript together, and I walked around with it and I read it over and over, and I let other people read it. And just this past May, as a matter of fact, on May 19th, Malcolm X's birthday.
Yeah, I know you're saying it.
I sat at my desk, and I had been going back and forth that week with whether or not I was going to finally do it. And earlier that month, I made I filled out the application to copyright it as a full collected work. And I did that. And then I was sitting at my desk on May 19th, 2020, in the midst of a pandemic. And I still was going into work every day because I work for the prison system. I have not worked from home. I've been going into work every single day as essential personnel. And I was sitting at my desk, and the Lord said, "Upload your book now." And I did it. And here you go.
Yes.
And I didn't really think it through as deeply as I felt like I should have, but I'm glad that I didn't, because I probably would have talked myself out of it again.
Wow.
But this has been nothing but a blessing.
Yeah.
A blessing to release this. And I always said it wasn't about I wanted to sell books. It was always about just releasing my art into the atmosphere. And letting God do what He wanted to do. If it inspired any one person, then my work was done.
And I figured you had done that, because I remember I reached out to you and said, do Almost Cafe 25. And I was like, oh, she got a book out. So like, as you probably reviewers here know, that she did Almost Cafe 25 a month ago with other authors that was in the Green Court Cafe in the midst of the pandemic. And y'all came together. Y'all didn't care about it. Y'all didn't care. It was like y'all show love and support one another. So what was that experience like, being part of the cafe?
It was an amazing experience for me, and I can say this. In the midst of a pandemic, I always say this: anything purposed by God is going to be protected by God.
Right.
So I was not in any way, shape, or form apprehensive about getting together with the other ladies. The fact that it was like a ladies thing kind of made it a even greater experience for me. What it did for me is it's allowing me to, even in this moment, settle into the opportunities to just use the gift that I was given. To settle into those opportunities. And it was something I said, I'm gonna write a book and I'll put it out. And then someone said to me, well, you gotta do book talks and you have to do interviews and I'm like, that's not me. But understanding that I have a platform, and so if this is what God has for me to do, it's what I'm gonna do. It's like I said, that experience to me was amazing. I met so many wonderful individuals, so many wonderful ladies. I learned a lot about life in that little bit of time. And for me, and anybody who knows me, I'm an avid learner. I'm one who thinks that you should always be striving to evolve yourself by learning more and more and more. By educating yourself, and education isn't always a formal degree. Education is life experience. Education is observation of other people. Education is conversation. So like this one right here, and if you know me, I'm one who loves to converse, and there is power and there is clarity in conversation. And anytime that you can sit with someone else and have a think tank and knock around ideas and just become a better person, I'm all for it. And that was what that moment was for me.
Yes, and sometimes like the August Cafes is not like I have a set plan of who's gonna be there. Sometimes God told me to reach out to people. Everything was designed for a reason.
Right.
And y'all ladies come together, and like plus the ladies on Zoom and the audience there. It was a wonderful experience, and I was really focused on the COVID. I'm like, hold on, get something that I didn't blame, but it was a blessing. And sometimes God do for some reason. A lot of people together for a purpose and like for a reason, And I wanted to see, can you read an excerpt from your book?
I sure will.
And then you can tell the people where they can find the book at.
So, again, as Levon said, Love, Joy, Peace Poetry, Volume 1. It is available on Amazon. I do have a few copies as well, physical copies as well, but it's available on Amazon. It's available in both the paperback and the Kindle versions. Okay. If you just type in Love, Joy, Peace Poetry, Volume 1, or my moniker that I write under is J. Marie McCall.
Okay.
So you can find it there. And I'll definitely do a piece. I'll do two if
Okay.
you don't, because one, I really feel like that message, the message in that needs to be out there, especially in a time like this. But we talk about inspiration, and when we talked about Chadwick Boseman earlier, most people, when I read about him today, everybody was saying how much of an inspiration he was to them. And so we always have to give, I feel like it's necessary to always give people their flowers while they can still smell them. So as a writer, one of my biggest inspirations is Nikki Giovanni. I had the opportunity to shake her hand and have her sign a book for me and just listen to her pour wisdom a few years back with a couple of friends of mine. And after that experience, I wrote this piece. God breathed this piece into me. And this piece is just called Nikki's Air. And it's an ode to Nikki's air. Her air was apparent and warm, thoughtful and staunch, and slowly, as if to get a deliberate high, I breathed it in. I watched the movement of her hands as she spoke, the shine in her eyes as she thought, the curl of her lip as she wrote. Her air was not much like a cloak she put on for show. It was simply the character of her truth, a truth she knew and believed and matured. It was gritty but meaningful, and I fell into a deep trance. With every inhale, my heart filled with promise. With every exhale, I cast out fear. With breath no longer bated, and a spirit free and clear, I was transformed into a newer version of me when I breathed Nikki's air.
Woo! Man.
So,
your mentees commented Asia.
hey Asia, what's up, boo? I'm about to see your girl in a few. I'm gonna tell her you said hi.
Oh, okay. Jay Rivers on here. Okay, Jay Rivers is a guest on the show. Thank you, Jay Rivers, who was on the show last week. Thank you for joining us on Instagram Live.
You would think I would know where my stuff is in my book. So, but here we go. So this one here, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna get out your way because LaVon got some things to do and got some other guests coming on. But this piece I wrote a few years ago, and it's called "Well Done." And I think that in the midst of the time that we're in a time where we're in the midst of social unrest, a pandemic, when things are just kind of up in the air, and we're in a conundrum, if that's what we want to call it. And sometimes people don't know what to do. And as I said earlier, people said, "Oh, just throw the whole 2020 away." No, walk into your purpose. This is. It's been interesting 2020. However, understand this: the heavens are still open.
Yes,
the heavens are still open. We can still petition God for what we want and what we need.
Amen. But
more than petitioning Him, we need to listen to Him. And so this poem is just called "Well Done," and I'm gonna do this and get out your way. And it goes like this. While this world riots in crisis, I can't just turn my head and keep silent. Some time ago I might have hesitated to pray or hesitated to pay, but thank God I got out of that hesitated space. Thank God, beloved, that it's not too late. Thank God He knew we needed a change. The enemy took 9 lives. The cat got through with my tongue when I should have been speaking peace before the war begun. No way we can win until the race is run and stand triumphant at the end and have their faces stunned. Because we gotta be ready when the Savior comes. See, these verses right here are crucial. They're definitely not what we are used to. I turn the page and I pen the flow. The backlash could be kind of brutal. It's a song of freedom for the youth to sing of power, of love, and of truth too. Philosophical ideas birthed from Christ, my life, my tears, just enough to feed upon for another 2,000 years and help this dying world switch gears. It'll end the race debate and this thing called hate, make the world placate and all fear vacate so we can cultivate a new crop of love. While we swear upon the Bible and fight for the highest title, we're totally unaware of who we rival, and Satan manipulates the final. We unknowingly spoiled the child. See, we did that by sparing the rod. Religious ritual keeps the family at odds. If we could just go back to being a people of God, our journey on this earth wouldn't be so hard. But thank God we haven't strayed away too far. We're still close enough to Him so we can get our righteous life back. And even though it feels we are under attack, we don't have to hide even if we are afraid. It all works together if we just be brave. A firm foundation has already been laid, and our minds no longer have to be enslaved. See, he raised the Savior up out of the grave. That was for all of us, by the way, because we needed a save. For the ones coming after, the path we pave should be God ordained, a more conscious way. Lives we allow to be Christ maintained. Let our flesh be slain. Couple our faith in our brain. We could all be one. That ain't hard to attain. We could all live this life. It ain't hard to explain. We could all shine together and hear the Father say, well done.
Wow. Again, get that book, Janelle McCall, on Amazon, the hardback version or the Kindle version. I know I got time, so, but that was 2 incredible poems. Again, thank you so much for part of the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we got a lot more work to do in terms of what we're going to do. Yes, Naija snapped your fingers. Yeah, she snapped her fingers. Thank you, Naija, for supporting your mentor, Miss McCall. So I know y'all go back. So, but again, thank you so much. Also, what do you have planned next in terms of, we said volume 1. So there'll be a volume 2 coming out?
Volume 2 is coming. Volume 2 is cooking up. It's in the works. A couple more things are in the works. I just been writing. Just letting the Lord speak to me. And so volume 2 of the poetry book is coming out soon. And I've been writing some other stuff too, so look out for that.
Okay, all right. Stay tuned for that, ladies and gentlemen. Where can they go follow you at?
So you can follow me on social media, both Twitter and Instagram, J. Marie McCall, Janelle Marie McCall. On Facebook, I also have a writing Facebook that is also J. Marie McCall. So,
okay. All right, so okay, you can go follow J. Marie McCall for support what she's doing. She's an incredible writer and speaker. So again, if you're gonna see more of her work she's doing, we'll make sure when that volume 2 come out, she'll come out on the show and do that. So, Jamie, thank you so much. Those who are watching Instagram Live and Facebook Live, thank you so much. We'll be right back in a few minutes, where our next guest will be another author and educator, Miss Sabrina Taylor. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.